2-1, and a lot to discuss there. Good morning, everybody, on a Friday. Keyshawn, J. Will, Zubin, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join us on the Goodyear Hotline. So Alan Hahn in, and Monica McNutt joins us here with Key this morning. Jay will join us at 7 o'clock. What's happening, Monica?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
What did you see last night at Staples, aside from a raucous L.A. crowd supporting their hometown
What's
Clippers?
wrong with you? You're such a hater.
What? It was a great atmosphere there.
I do love Steve Ballmer shots on the sideline, though, always.
Oh,
Listen, commitment, energy, personality from this Clipper squad. I think my biggest gripe with them is, as good as, even when Kawhi was healthy, as good as Kawhi is, it never feels like there's emotional energy there.
He was up in a suite, far away from the bench.
So the guy that's stepping in his stead, Paul George, who's playing good ball, again, is not really an emotionally charged guy. So to me, shout out to Terrence Mann, whose mama is a Hoya. Shout out to Daniel LaForce. Patrick Beverly, Reggie Jackson. They gave that, and you just saw the defensive commitment across the board.
Yeah, they came to play. The energy certainly was up, but it had to be. I mean, you don't want to go down 3-0 because at that point, you might as well just start getting ready for Cancun.
No historic comeback?
And not
3-0. That never happened.
3-0, yeah, 3-0 is tough to come back from. And when you got, everything on the line, you back home, we've seen them go down 0-2 before, and then even with Kawhi and bring back and come back and win the series. Now, I don't think that's going to happen this time around. It's just going to make it, it may push it to 6 or 7. And I think that's where you're at. They'll probably even a score here, 2-2, go back to Phoenix, and then basically ping-pong back and forth from there.
Now, Cameron Payne's injury, though,
that
could change things in this series,
I was just about to say that, hon. I think
went down in was the first quarter of that, right?
Yes,
He turned his ankle, never came back.
Never came back. And particularly in that second half, I was like,
And they missed him.
Well, yeah, I mean, his length, his energy. I thought that the pace yesterday, and I was sort of vacillating between, is it the Clippers' defensive energy or is it CP3 feeling his way back into the series? Because the pace absolutely favored the Clippers to me. That was entirely, at every level of basketball, I always say, coming down, set up in your half-court set is a tough day of work at the office. And you could see it all over Devin Booker, who they were absolutely keyed in on, and rightfully so. When that Phoenix Suns team gets out in transition, they only had 10 transition points last night. Like that, Cameron Payne's
Chris
a big
Paul
deal.
missing all that time, you could tell.
I think it's a little bit of both what Monica was saying, though. Chris Paul missing some time trying to get a feel for everything that's going on again, plus the adjustment side of things. When you lose somebody in the middle of a game, now coaches got to make that adjustment to try to figure out, okay, we didn't anticipate this. We didn't go into a game with this type of game plan. Now you have an opportunity when the game's over with. You have a day to adjust and come back in game 4 and figure what you lost in game 3.
And plenty to talk about there with adjustments in Ty Lue, which we'll get to. But a bigger story, again, Chris Paul, 5 of 19. He does return to the lineup, but struggles with his shooting. Devin Booker, again, struggles. 5 of 21, 1 of 7. Patrick Beverly basically just blanketing him the entire time. But what we should also point out, though, is Paul George, without Kawhi, again stepping up. Remember, he misses the free throws. If he hits those free throws, this series might be 1-1. Now it might be 2-1 in their favor. You never know, right? That's how close things came in game 2. But PG plays 43 minutes and gives you 27 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists. Now, he did have 6 turnovers, but he also, again, had the ball in his hand a ton. And he played, again, really well. He's had strong performances here now for the Clippers. And take a listen to what Doris Burke had to say. That she was on the call, ESPN Radio, for the game. And it's become a thing with Paul George that we do, that when he doesn't come up in the clutch, when he has these performances sometimes like he did in game 2 at the end, where we tend to go right away to criticizing Paul George. And this is Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. So take a listen to Doris Burke saying she's had enough of people criticizing PG.
I am so tired of people being critical of Paul George. He's played every other day since June 2nd. He has carried an enormous burden. He has led the playoffs in minutes and touches. And in the fourth quarter of Game 2, big shot after big shot. Yes, he missed the free throws, and yes, he probably didn't help himself calling himself playoff B, but he is fighting through incredible fatigue. 27, 15, and 8. Pipe down, critics of Paul George.
Pipe down. That's Straight Talk, right to Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Explain to me who we are.
Do we criticize Paul George
let me know
too
who
much?
we is, because I'm not part of we. I just really want to know. You mean?
I'll be honest with you.
Like
I'm
the
not
media?
either. Well, I'm not either because I don't like. I feel like this. Tell me if I'm crazy, guys. Paul George. I don't know if he's. Like, I think some people in media that criticize him have him at a higher level than I think he should be. I don't think he's a superstar like we did this yesterday. Who's superstar? Who's not? He's a really good player. But he doesn't have
He's
enough.
an all-star basketball player.
He doesn't have enough trophies to get that kind of shine.
He's an all-star basketball player that has a big contract, and like Monica was explaining to me, has a signature shoe, and so much comes with that and expectations when you are a leader of a team like he was in Indy. He was supposed to be the guy in Indy, but guess what? You know, there's another dude not far from you in Cleveland that you kept running into.
That's right.
That you're not going to get over because nobody was
He
getting
was in
over
Miami
that.
at the time. Yeah.
and Key, I think,
was he? Yeah, Miami
Yeah.
at the time.
but I think that's a big part of it, right?
Yes.
Like there seems to be a promise unfulfilled. When we saw Paul George earn the signature shoe deal, he ran into LeBron a bunch, but he also held his own, right? And so that was the projection. And then arguably, it hasn't necessarily panned out moving forward. Listen, I love Doris Burke as much as anybody, but I would counter that with, well, Devin Booker's been on the floor too. If we're going to go star power in this particular series, now granted, the Phoenix Suns have played less games. They handled their business. But I don't know that doing what we expect means that we should back down. As that superstar, you can't miss those free throws, point blank, period. You've given us the moments that continue to remind us why you have not lived up to the
But I
promise.
love the how he
you
bounced
played
back.
basketball.
He did bounce back.
You played basketball.
Monica played at Georgetown. She's the third most popular
Oh my gosh.
player in
Here
Georgetown
we go.
I
basketball
played
history.
a little basketball, and I asked you though, because you played at a higher level in basketball than I did. You missed those free throws. It happens.
Here-
I've watched
It-
all sorts of superstars miss free throws at the end of games, even though their percentages have been high. I've watched it before.
So I again, as consumers, we consume in moments, right? It happened as we literally followed, not to get too much into Twitter, but it was funny because you could see the dialogue being like, oh, we owe Paul George an apology. And then the free throws is like, wait a minute, no, we don't. You know what I mean? Like that to me, signature shoe guys, you have those free throws in the conference finals in that moment. There's no question. There's just no question. You can't do that.
Well, that's the
And
clutch
so-
gene.
And that's
what we
it.
want out of your superstar is the clutch gene.
And so for me, I think what has happened to Paul George is, while if you dig into the numbers, terrific scorer, great NBA player. The promise, signature shoe guy, has just not been fulfilled
But
yet.
that's not. But see, for me, that's not his fault that he has a signature shoe deal.
Yeah.
What is he supposed to say? Oh, I don't want a shoe deal.
No, I agree
No,
with
I'm
you.
not that
but
guy.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
but I agree with you. But as soon as you say, excuse me, yes to that, it, like the eyeballs are on, the pressure is on. The
I
scrutiny.
get it, but is it fair to criticize him at the level that he's been criticized throughout his career in ping pong back and forward based on a moment or two, plus or minus? Should you do that to people?
Last year in the bubble was really where
I
it
was
got
just about to
loudest.
say that.
And that was because everybody, everybody was in the bubble. All conditions were the same, and yet you weren't performing. And then later he explained why. But that I just think Paul George is that guy where you see there's a lot of talent there, but it's not there every night, and critics get frustrated when you don't bring it like he can bring it every night. Now, he has for the Clippers in the playoffs, and that is something that is helping change that narrative about him. And a performance like last night where they needed a win, he got it done after having that breakdown of missing two free throws late.
This year alone in the playoffs, every time they needed a win, he performed. Just look at it. Every time they needed a win, he performed.
Yeah, but until Kawhi got hurt, Kawhi really was the guy that
But
carried.
it's Kawhi's kind of.
They kinda did it together,
second,
though.
but he's second to Kawhi anyway. So he's going to look less than because it's Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi gets the first touch all the time. He's the guy. And then everything that's left over goes to Paul George.
All right, well, the Clippers are hoping Paul George gets in the zone again in Game 4. Get in the Zone is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Coming up next, for once in his life, Scottie Pippen actually wants to take the final shot.
Jeez. All
But
right.
it's another NBA superstar who provided
Guess he
a
won't be on
dagger.
the show after
That
that.
is next. KJZ, ESPN Radio, and Sirius XM, Channel 80.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin.
Jason Terry, a 2011 NBA champion.
What up, Jet?
What up, Key? I want to commend you two brothers.
Social media without asking.
Yes. No, say something.
That's
Say something.
Get him.
I don't
Good
know if
morning, Jay Will.
Let's say something.
Good
What up,
morning,
Alan?
Jay
Get him,
Will.
Monica. Get him, Monica. He needs that.
How is it in LA?
Good
this
morning, Jay.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's 75 degrees. It's nice.
Ooh,
It's
that
nice,
sounds
Key.
nice.
Jay, how was that Lakers crowd last night at Staples?
Wait,
It sounded really loud. That sounded like a great building.
you
Was
don't
it?
stop.
What did you
Was it
call that?
as
Wait.
legit as it sounded? Because that was the Staples hasn't sounded that loud in a long time.
Yo, I gotta tell you though, we were doing the pregame show last night, and I was worried because when the game started,
Yeah.
it was kind of embarrassing.
Flat.
There was nobody there. Like it was like half capacity. There were all these boxes were empty. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, are Clipper fans going to actually show out for Game 3? And then all of a sudden, halfway through the game, it just got packed and it got live and they got behind their team. But at first, I was going to say it was embarrassing for the first like 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game. Now
Yeah, you remember what I said yesterday, Jay? Late
it's
arriving
just a
crowd.
different kind of feel. You're right, Keith.
You know, that's what we do. We come late and we leave early.
When you guys were doing the pregame show, I was like, wait, where are the fans? Like
Yeah.
nobody's there
That's
yet
just-
at all.
yeah. They still probably at some bar eating or something and hanging out.
Traffic. That's the problem.
No.
Takes forever to get
Traffic.
there.
They probably
Just
getting all
mad seats were
glam,
empty. You're like, what is going on here? Is this the
Every-
Western Conference Finals or what?
dressed like they going to a prom.
Tell my sis Maria that orange dress was gorge. Yes.
It
Anyway,
was
sorry.
orange is new black. That's what she said last night.
There we go. There we
But
go.
but overall, Jay, the game turned out to pretty much be a stunner. With the Clippers, winning the game and not necessarily even in the score, but at least getting one, still down 2-1, and Chris Paul didn't have the game that many of us thought that he would have, coming back after a long layoff. How did you see it?
I love when you go into host mode, Key. That was great. That was a great setup thing.
The only thing he just didn't have a billboard. He could have read a billboard too
Yeah.
while he was doing that.
Yeah, Paul George provided.
Surprised I didn't get the progressive read. I typically get the progressive read, Alan.
Paul George
question.
provided a win for the Clippers and the overnight delivery. No, man, go ahead.
No, come on, no, you started and finished it. Yes.
Go ahead and
Okay.
finish it.
Stop screaming at me.
Oh, you sensitive?
Paul George provided a win for the Clippers, and his overnight delivery is brought to you by UPS. Business is changing, and UPS is USPS. Is changing with it. Find out how the USPS.com/new routes. The United States Postal Service priority you.
Yes,
No,
the
I'm
United
just so
States Postal Service.
Get the ad right.
Thank you for your support.
I'm so used to saying UPS. Leave me alone.
No.
Okay. I don't know
Why
about that
you
one.
need me.
I don't know about exactly.
I
Hon.
let these moments
Please
happen
don't leave
just to
us.
let everybody know, yes, you need me.
You so silly.
But still. But you know what, though? But Jay, everybody, like what we talk so much about in this series has been Devin Booker, has been Chris Paul's return, has been Paul George. Even Monty Williams and the culture that he's got developing there in Phoenix. But you know what? A lot of people are talking about what Ty Lue is doing with the Clippers. And I know you guys have talked about it, so I'll give credit. But take a listen to Patrick Beverley and the comparison that he made between Ty Lue and another great coach.
We crack jokes. We call, T. Lue Bill Belichick 'cause all the adjustments he made. He's definitely going to find a way. And we're going to find a way also like we always do.
Bill Belichick in the way he makes adjustments and finds a way. Is Ty Lue getting that kind of respect and attention now around the league to get this team without Kawhi Leonard to play? They were very competitive game 2, and then they win game 3, and so we've got a series now.
I mean, to be real, the Clippers should be up 2-1.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you make 2 free throws. That game is essentially over. You come back home, defend home court, you're up 2-1. I will say this, after game 1, we were all getting in the car after the game, and the Clippers bus was right next to our car. So as we getting in, J. Rose, Maria, and I were all saying what's up to Chauncey, because Chauncey was there. I haven't seen Chauncey in a minute since the whole pandemic. And Ty Lue was coming out. So I go over to Ty. I'm like, yo, what's up, Ty Lue? How you been, man? And his look, like I was asking him about him, right? Haven't seen Ty Lue in a while. And he just said, we good. We good, man. Like, we going to be just fine. Like, everybody just needs to press pause. And I was like, no, but Ty, I'm asking you about you, not the team, like just you. But I could tell automatically, like that's where his mind goes. Like he's just entrenched in, hey, look, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. People love to jump to speculation. But at the end of the day, as long as we compete and we follow our defensive rotation, which they did last night, he feels like they're going to be fine.
So, Jay, I got a question then, because why is it taking them so? Well, I guess game 2 in this particular series was, really close. But why do they have to go into this hole to turn it on? Like, if we're going to be fine when we start. This is professional basketball.
I'm with you on that, Monica. I also think that the Suns kind of helped last night. Like, the pace of the game seemed to be so much slower with CP3. They ran so much more half-court stuff for him, and the ball was in his hands a lot. And I get that, but when he wasn't on the floor, they played so much faster. It was up and down a lot, and Devin Booker found his flow. Obviously, the injury to Campaign, I think, is going to hurt them a little bit, depending upon how he is, because he was just playing at a high level too, but the ball was predominantly in Devin Booker's hands. And then last night, the ball was predominantly in CP3's hands. Look, they went essentially – what they go last night? It was like some kind of crazy number they went from
combined.
the field. It was 10 for 40.
Yeah. 10 for 40 combined.
And then 3 from 14 from the three-point line. Like I don't see them having many nights like that, but that was also due to the way they defended.
Do you think that the shield that Devin Booker had to wear on the face for the first time had any effects with the way he was shooting the basketball?
With the broken nose, yeah.
No, I just think the way they defended him was incredible, man. Like they got Terrence Mann. There was one possession where he got over 3 screens. Monica, you know this.
Yep.
Yo, look, I defense, I get it, but like key on the second screen, I might get stuck to the screen like Velcro. Like it's tiring to get over screen after screen after screen, especially with the continuity that Monty Williams runs. So when you get over screens like that, and there's that kind of defensive effort that you saw Patrick Beverley have last night too, that's just a team that actually they were crisp with their rotations defensively. Like they didn't have any mistakes in their scouting report execution.
I'm like I said before this series even started about Ty Lue, I'm glad that he's coaching without a superstar, so to speak, without a Kawhi, without a LeBron James. So this whole narrative that he isn't a good coach can certainly just go away. Because people, not necessarily in the NBA, but people outside the NBA view it because, you won with LeBron James. So the first thing they say is, oh, that's the reason you won, or you're winning because of Kawhi Leonard. No, that's not the case. I'm winning because I know X's and O's and I know what the hell I'm doing.
You remember Phil Jackson? It was always about, Michael Jordan. Then Michael Jordan went to play baseball, and Phil Jackson's Bulls teams won like 55 games that year in '94. And we're a very competitive team, so it became okay. So maybe Phil does know what he's doing.
All right. But, okay, so Ty Lue's excellent. We all praise his adjustments so far. But on the other side, you got a guy who some folks would have had as Coach of the Year, and Monty Williams. So, Jay, what's now the adjustment for the Suns?
I think they just got to play faster. And, also that was one of the questions I had, Monica. I was like, CP3 is coming back. I know how talented CP3 is, but he's not in game shape. You know that. Like, you miss a day or two of playing hoops. And I'm not sure if he was training by himself. I'm sure he was doing all that stuff on his own. But when you're not having game shape and you've been off for 11 days, you're going to come back and be rusty. So for the ball automatically to be in his hands so much, I think you got to pick up the pace of the game and say, all right, CP3, I hear you're coming back. I know you're the maestro, but we got to get Devin Booker the ball early, and we got to get him the ball in transition and let him go. Like, let him get cooking. But I don't see CP3 being this off in game 4. I don't.
I agree with you for sure. But do you think that how much of that was the Campaign injury, right? Because in the second half, I'm looking like,
he had to play a ton.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he had to be in that role.
Yeah. We'll find out. I mean, we'll see the extent of that injury. You're at a point of the season, though, if you can run on it, you play, right? Like, I think that's what we know. So we'll see the extent of the Cameron Payne injury. But injuries have been the story in the postseason. It's Keyshawn J. Will Zubin coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. Coming up, let's play a little game. So remember the Olympics in China, what came of that, of players playing together, was a super team in Miami. We've got another Olympics, this time in Tokyo. So what super team can come out of this year's Olympics? That's